right and left, number one. And he was such a good golfer. And I wish I had known him the other 3 years. Of course, I had absolutely nothing to do with any,
Well, he came on this. He came on the scene with that incredible smile.
I know.
So captivating.
His attitude is exemplary. I mean, I played a lot of golf in tournaments, and I had a brother who had a temper, and I thought, this guy's amazing, because the worst I've ever heard him say was, "Oh, Matty," when he would hit a shot that he didn't like. And no banging clubs, no throwing, no tossing clubs, no yelling at somebody in the gallery or something like that. And I've often wondered what it's like to be on the taking $100,000 putt. No.
And feeling easy about it.
Well, his focus and concentration is phenomenal. And that, I think, her short game is what has saves you, and it does. If you're not hitting the ball well, your short game's good. You can usually count on it.
Well, I even asked Peter. I said,
going with his putting. My goodness.
I asked Peter, what was the deal with the U.S. The championship? He goes, he didn't miss a putt, not a single. He putted out of his mind.
I mean, you can be hitting the ball all over the golf course, and if you've got a good short game, they say you can get up and down in the hole from the bench on the tee. You have to hit it from there. And
all right,
good golfers have really good short games, I think.
Oh, good. We've got Maureen joining us from the chairman of the board of trustees. Awesome.
Hello.
Hey,
somebody
welcome.
There in the middle.
Hey there. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Hey, Maureen.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, is that Rick?
George.
Yeah, there's George.
George
Hutchison. Hey, George, I wanted to share. I passed your questions along to Peter, and he said, yeah, that Mitchison's a troublemaker.
That's like a pot calling the kettle black, right?
I said, but the beauty is I've got the ability to mute him. I think nobody's ever had that ability before.
You can just cut our mics anytime. Well, somebody's out there in the snow. You're out. Where are you?
I'm in Idaho. This is my backyard in Idaho, but it's a virtual.
Oh.
So I took it 2 weeks ago.
It's May.
The snow has now melted, and there is a golf course underneath that snow.
It looks like it. Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
Maureen, I should know this, but do you play? So there's a difference between playing golf and being a golfer. I play golf, but I am not a golfer.
I play.
There you go. Fair enough.
I belong to my ladies group in Florida, but the reality is work just always interferes with my schedule, so I don't get to play very often.
Right.
Not as often as I'd like. Mm-hmm. And I live on 2 golf courses, one in Florida and one in Idaho, so I'm doing something wrong.
Which one in Florida?
The Bayou Club in Pinellas Park near Clearwater.
It's about 3 miles.
I taught at Northeast High School and belonged to Pasadena before we revamped it for the LPGA.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I play a lot at Dunedin, which used to be the PGA headquarters back in the 60s.
It sure was.
Was Tom Zachary at Northeast when you were there?
Yes, he was. I remember his name.
He was my baseball coach.
Hi.
Did you go to Northeast?
Yes.
Hey, Meg.
There. Hey, Peter. Hey, Meg.
Hey.
Hey, where are you guys?
Hello, Peter and Meg.
Hey.
Oh, I got a crowd in here.
We are. How many are you expecting?
I'm not really sure. We've got room for 100. My guess is if we get 50, that would be amazing.
Awesome.
But we've got some esteemed hatters on the line here, including the chair of the board of trustees, Maureen.
Lovely.
So Meg and I were actually sorority sisters in Pi Phi at Stetson.
Uh-oh.
How about that?
You can't, no Pi-Pis allowed.
Here come the stories.
Right out there.
Stories.
Break out in a chorus of drink beer, oh, come drink beer with me.
Ah, there we go.
That was when we were Baptist school.
Right.
It was, but maybe the student body not so much.
Yeah.
I think Edie's going to
All
pop in.
right. Admit.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. I haven't seen Edie in a while.
Yeah. Be
Getting ready to
fun.
have Dave Rinker and Rena join us.
Awesome.
There's Dave.
Hey, Dave.
I think Sims Klein's going to try to get on too. He just called me a while ago.
Awesome.
Hello, Rena.
Hi,
Hey, Rena.
friends.
Yeah, I like your hat. Hello, David.
How you doing, Woody?
Hey, Dave. How are you? Yeah,
Hey,
good.
Meg, we can barely see your heads. Can you tilt your things? There we go. Hey. Wow. Great.
Love it.
All right.
Yeah.
I believe we have Matt joining us. So,
There we go.
Here we go.
all right.
There we go.
There's Matt.
So-
Just sign up.
Hey,
There it is.
Hello.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey, Matt.
There's Matt.
Hey, Maddie.
It's me now. All right. How we doing?
Doing
Good.
well. Doing well.
Hi.
Did I see a little Kuchar in the background with a hat?
You did. You did. He helped me get up.
There we go. Oh, you're not in the dark. That's perfect. That is
Very
perfect.
good.
All right.
Oh,
Let's
All right.
Maureen, is that snow I see behind you?
It is. I was explaining before, that's a virtual background. It's a
Oh.
picture I took in my backyard 2 weeks ago. So the
2
the
weeks.
snow is now melted and there is a golf course underneath that.
Oh my goodness.
It hasn't opened yet for the season because we're in Idaho.
I forgot. Growing up in Nebraska, it does snow in April, doesn't it?
It snowed yesterday.
Oh
here.
my gosh.
So Marie, Matt just bought a place in just outside of Lake Coeur d'Alene in Gosser Ranch.
Oh, really? Oh, we're in McCall.
At par?
Well, Coeur d'Alene is north of us. So we're about 2 hours north of Boise, straight up 55.
Beautiful. Yeah, they're on a gorgeous lake there. It's really pretty. The Lake Coeur d'Alene. It's beautiful.
Yeah, our house isn't on Lake Payette, but the town of McCall is, and it's beautiful.
Nice.
We got a pontoon boat to go out partying on the lake.
Perfect.
Hello,
Perfect.
John.
Hey, Tom.
I see
Hello,
Rita's got a
hello.
great
Hey,
virtual
what is-
background.
hey,
I
Marie.
recognize that.
Hello, Kuchars.
yeah.
All right. Admit all there. Gotta be.
I don't know how to get more people on our screen.
I don't know, do they go down the side or only across the top?
Yeah, you should have an arrow on both
Oh,
sides.
I see the arrow.
There's John Foley. There's Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
Oops.
I
Good.
see some names, but I
There
don't
we
see
go.
pictures yet.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
How to get
We can-
page.
I see the name if they haven't turned on their video.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, are you multitasking by driving and zooming?
I am a passenger.
Hello,
I am
Bill.
a passenger in the car.
Joe Armour.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, guys.
All right.
Hello, Bill.
Oh.
Little chair, okay?
Right.
We're gonna stay right here. Bring in the chair.
And let's see, Catherine is with us.
There's Catherine.
Kuchar somewhere.
Hey, Catherine.
Hi, Woody. How are you?
Hey, good.
Patty.
Where's Catherine? Up to
There
the
she
right or the left? Let's see.
To the right.
There's Tamara Freight.
All right. All right.
Okay.
This is becoming a habit.
Does
So,
it work?
See her? See her now.
all right. So,
There's a waiting line outside here.
Nice to see everybody.
hey, Joe.
Hey, Weddy, how you doing?
Hey, doing well. Doing well. Welcome. Glad you're with us.
Thanks.
We're gonna scoot back to page one, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Woody, this is so cool.
It's been fun. It really
Good
has.
job.
All right, Matthew. So where are you from? Or Matthew?
I'm from just outside of Atlanta.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Now, are you a current student or alum or a fan?
Huh?
Are you a current?
Sorry.
He's an incoming freshman. He's going to be playing on our golf.
We're loading up that golf team.
Go Hatters. Welcome to the Hatter family.
Yeah.
Hey, Rena.
Is Matt Cooper from Ponte Vedra?
He's our neighbor, GA.
Yeah, I thought that might be the young man.
There's Rick Rentz. Hey, Rick.
Hey, guys.
Hello, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, brother.
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
Get a haircut.
No, I don't want to get a haircut.
So, Woody, do you mind if I start by sharing with everyone about my 70th birthday present?
Wow.
Absolutely.
You're that old?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go ahead.
So,
You got it 10 years ago?
yeah.
There's Sims. I see Sims.
So I
Hey,
turned
Jen.
70 last, and Matt came down to practice for the Players Championship. And when he walked in, he said, "Dad, you got a big birthday coming up." And I said, "I sure do." He says, "Well, come on outside. I got something in the driveway to show you." And in our driveway, brand new Porsche Cayenne Turbo, which I thought he was driving. And when he handed me the keys, I about fell on the ground. And it just took my breath away because it wasn't even on the radar. But what makes it even more special is when he played in the German Open last year, his appearance fee was a new Porsche. So I went online and I built it for him, and he vetoed everything I said. But it knew exactly what I wanted. And so the color, all the attributes are exactly like what I would have picked out. So, Matt, thank you. That was maybe the best birthday present of all time.
So we weren't sure about
That's
him
awesome.
before,
Right.
but we've decided,
Way to go, Matt.
yeah, decided he's a keeper now.
Hey, Sims. Welcome.
It's not often
Hello.
we do
There's
really
Sim.
cool surprise, special gifts, but that was fun.
That was awesome.
All right. Let's go ahead and
Just being grateful for the ping pong that his dad taught him, so he can put Mickelson in his place.
That's right.
They used to have battles kind of every afternoon. I remember we would finish golf, get home before dinner, and before dinner we'd go out on the back porch and have these battles. And now I'm doing the same with my kids. I've got two boys; they're 10 and 12, and we're battling on the ping pong table. I still hold supremacy, but a lot like my dad and me. You can tell the kids are just about better, and I've got that mental fatherly edge over them that is keeping me in the circle.
I hear one of them's a tennis player and the other one's a golfer. Is that right? Your sons?
That's right. Yeah, it's been great in the family. I grew up chasing dad around tennis courts, and then I married into a tennis family. I hadn't played much tennis till I got back into the tennis family, but it's fun to get back into it. We all go out as a family and play a bunch of tennis, but that's kind of my wife's arena, and I take over on the golf side. So it's been fun for the two of us to have kids that happen to take to the sports that we're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Matt,
Round the table ping pong was probably with some of the people that are in this group, Matt, when they'd come over during Stetson homecoming to our place, and we'd get you in. So probably some of these people from dating back to when you were a little guy.
Good fun.
Speaking of that,
we didn't see you that soon, Matt. But Elizabeth and I went to Stetson, and we used to enjoy watching your dad and his brother play tennis a lot. So I had a feeling that you probably would have become a tennis player, not a golfer. So congratulations for what you've done. But we had the best time watching you guys play tennis. And I remember one celebrity event where Bill Cosby was there, and you guys did an exhibition, and it was awesome.
that was a lot of fun. I played with George Border, and back then they played 9-point tiebreak. And I kind of controlled the match, I remember. When it got 4-all, George was looking real nervous. I said, don't worry, George, we got this. And sure enough, we got the deciding point. He was so happy.
That's great. That's great.
That's awesome. Hey, folks, let's go ahead and get started. And if I could ask everyone other than Peter, Matt, if you wouldn't mind just for the first part, just muting your microphone so that we're not talking over one another. And we don't have a formal presentation, but I do have some pictures and such that the Kuchars have shared with me that I'd like to share with all of y'all. And I think it will prompt a few stories that you will enjoy. So give me in 1 second.
Learn to understand you.
Whoops. Hello. All right.
Or one of us was young then.
So Peter and I met tennis side. So Mike Lanahan, who played on the tennis team with Peter, invited me to come and watch his match. But Mike played number 3 and Peter played number 1. So we ended up, he came up after his match and said hello, and then we ran into each other later that night randomly out at the airport bar, and he asked me to go to the beach the next day, and we've been together ever since.
I married Meg 2 weeks after she turned 19, and she was from West Virginia. They thought she'd never get married.
That's amazing. Well, it so happened that it's about a year ago, a little over a year, when I met you guys at Hilton Head at the RBC Heritage, and took this picture. And so we've started a relationship ever since. And I think that's what culminated to where we are today. So
promoted everywhere.
I think the biggest question on most folks' mind are, so how did the fella that looks like this land a young lady that looks like that?
That's a fair question, Woody.
So, and I've got a few more. Let's see. And you guys have you celebrated your 50th yet?
No, we just did 46 in February.
Okay. All right. And then, so here's a.
Yeah, got married in 70.
These were fun to put together, let me tell you.
So the gentleman in the back row, second from the left, is Ray Hussey, who is our coach. And there he is. He's the third from the right there. And what a great guy he was. I can't say enough good things about Ray and the way he managed the team. We weren't very good. We had no scholarships, but he was just a super guy. I miss him a lot.
And that's Peter's brother, Greg, I think. No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, standing on the other side of Ray.
Yeah.
Where's Greg now?
Greg's in Austin, Texas.
We were hoping he might log on tonight. So Peter had a dog, a German Shepherd named Uke, that those who were on campus with us probably remember, and his roommate had the golden retriever Buckeye. So that's how they lured girls back to their place. Was time. Tell them about the ice cream.
So at the Commons back then served ice cream, and every day at lunch we'd grab ice cream and share it with our dogs after we ate our meal. There they are begging.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, before we leave the pictures with Greg, we want to say how much we enjoyed knowing Greg and Mary Hunter. Elizabeth roomed with Mary Hunter. They were roommates, and we became dear friends and stayed connected for a lot of years after Stetson, which meant a lot to us. We have lost track in the last several years, but hope they're both well.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that.
His daughter, Catherine, is on the call, so you guys can.
Fabulous.
She went to Stetson also.
Oh, fabulous.
All right. I saw Catherine. I'm sifting through the gallery, and there's Catherine.
Oh, and there is Marianne. Oh my gosh. Hi.
Hi, Catherine.
And
Oh my gosh.
that's my sorority. This picture here, I pledged Pi Phi as a freshman. So that's the fellow Pi Phis.
Right. I remember. Oh, there's Ashley. Oh my gosh. Okay. You're taking me back.
Good.
We got to know a few of the people on campus, but mostly we were just interested in one another. So we didn't get to do. Oh, sure.
Tom, apparently that worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Thanks.
So the year.
One of the things that we admire, so many of our contemporaries are first-time marriages for all these years. It's a beautiful thing to see. So after Matt, we had him 4 years after we got married, and then our daughter came along about 20 months later, and she's married to a winemaker and lives in California. So their winery is Kreutz. Our daughter Becky and son Matt, and that's the mural you see behind us is Peter's favorite place on the planet, Camp Willamette, which is on Newfound Lake in New Hampshire.
Thank you, Meg. And she's wearing her hat or sweatshirt in that picture.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so in 1997, a young fellow named Matt Kuchar won the U.S. Amateur Championship. And we've got a little video from when they interviewed him right afterwards.
Are we gonna get? No.
Matt, you were younger then.
He had hair then.
My boys don't recognize me in some of the old photos Mom and Dad have around the house. They think it's a friend of mine. Not me.
Well, Matt, we know you have a lot of stories to share because you've accomplished a lot of things, you and your entire family. So I think one of the first ones was, not everybody's been to the Olympics, much less won a medal. So you want to share a little bit about your experience there?
Well, Woody, let me back way up as we're talking Stetson University. So as a kid, I tagged along Dad, followed Dad along the tennis scene and kind of went everywhere, dragging a racket, trying to get any court time I could get. But then got interested in basketball. And I remember we were young, living in Central Florida, and we would make it up to maybe half dozen Stetson Hatter games, basketball games a year. And what a cool memory. I think I was probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in those ranges. And I'd never seen a college campus and to go there and to be part of kind of an atmosphere with a couple thousand people in the stands was so exciting. Just as a young kid to walk around, and DeLand, such a neat town, and Stetson, such a beautiful university, to have Dad kind of show me around and go to these games was memories I'll always have. And at one point I remember attending the Glenn Wilke basketball camp. So sleepovers there at the university and really had great memories from then. I still remember one of the basketball drills is, make a right-handed layup, a left-handed layup, and go back and forth till you've made 20, and see how long it takes you. And so I'm doing that same drill with my boys at the moment. So I've got great fond memories of being a kid and walking around the Stetson campus. And from there, I kept playing tennis. I wanted to be Boris Becker when I was a kid, and then I wanted to be Magic Johnson. And at some point, I was 12 years old. We were just tennis members at a membership to full country club membership privileges for Dad's Christmas present when I was 12 years old. So golf I took by the game, and then I turned my love. I wanted to be like Phil Mickelson when I grew up. So funny to chase that dream all the way to being out, being a competitor, being friends with Phil, and getting to do some amazing things. I've played on a bunch of teams now, President's Cup teams, Ryder Cup teams, but there is something so uniquely special about being an Olympian. There's a saying, once an Olympian, always an Olympian. And to grow up in a sporty home like I grew up in, I think Olympics is everybody's dream. And I thought my chosen sport, the sport of golf, it was just not in the cards for me to be an Olympian. Then when golf became an Olympic sport, that became a huge goal of mine. The qualify was amazing. The experience was amazing. And then to medal is still hard to believe. I still kind of pinch myself. I look at the picture on the screen and sometimes can't believe that I actually was able to do that. It's an amazing thing, and something I'm hugely proud of.
Hey, Matt, tell them about your final round at the Olympics.
Yeah, it felt very Olympian. The final round, I was probably about 8th place, 10th place going into the final round. And of course, as we know, there's no nice check for a top 10 finish. The only thing that matters is gold, silver, bronze. And 4th place is the same as 10th place. And so I knew going into Sunday's round, I needed a really good round to medal. I got off to a decent start, and then all of a sudden, kind of midway into the front 9, started making a few putts at the turn. I think I eagled the 9th hole to make the turn, and thought I got a real chance here. I think every week you'd love to script it. I'd love to go out and shoot a 63 on Sunday. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. I think sometimes you go out and you say, well, I'm going to go for broke. I might as well go for everything. And, you wish you could always make it happen, and it doesn't always happen. And for me, the timing was just great that I did have a magical Sunday in Rio in order to capture the bronze medal. So it was quite special. Coming down those last few holes, I knew I had a chance to medal, knew I maybe even had a chance to win gold. And at one point, I remember wiping tears from my eyes thinking, I can't believe this is happening. And realized I needed to stay focused, realized I needed to play well the next 4 or 5 holes, 1 to guarantee it, 2 to try to up the medal, 2 to try to go for silver or gold. But to have an amazing Sunday was a incredible feeling, and it felt like an Olympic effort for sure.
Matt, do you know it was on last night? Did you see it? Your final round was actually, it was on.
No, tell me what was on.
Yeah, it was your final round of the Olympics was on.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was amazing.
Oh, very cool. I actually have never seen it. That is very cool.
Yeah.
We've got some great pictures that, this picture right now is us arriving home. We live St. Simon's Island, Georgia. And so we were able to land right on the island and had a big crowd waiting. It was late at night. It was probably after midnight, and a couple hundred people out waiting to greet us home. Was a very cool reception. It's one of the, I think, neat things about living in a small town, and the community has just been such a great support. It's a big golf community. Davis Love has been there forever and done so many great things. And to come home and have so many people there waiting. I think the lady with her hands up, I think that maybe Davis's wife, Robin. It's just it's a wonderful, wonderful community, and what a cool way to get home.
That's a great shot. All right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So there's some pretty good golfers in this,
Matt?
in addition to you. So tell us about this team.
Hey, Matt.
Oh yeah, so there is Captain Davis Love. Speaking of him, amazing to be able to play for Davis Love. He's a neighbor, he's a friend, a legend in the game of golf. And I think of the captains I've played for, and most recently played for and alongside Tiger Woods in the President's Cup in Australia. But I have all these team photos up in the house, and to look through and to think of all the great teammates, to think of all the great captains that I've played for, and alongside, it sure is special. This was, I believe, our team that finally was able to win the cup. This was, I think, our Hazeltine team that it took us a while to finally win the Ryder Cup, but man, was it special to finally be part of a victorious team.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I don't know if there's a story here
So
that
Matt, you made the yeah, I was going to ask Matt about making the putt to win the President's Cup in Australia this year.
Oh yeah, so here we go. We're now on a picture with Captain Tiger Woods. I think at this point he has probably sat me, which I'm probably giving him trouble with. I think I've hanging out on the first tee, watching all the guys tee off, and probably giving him some trouble about making me sit. That's one of the tricky things about these cups is you do have to sit people, particularly Ryder Cups. Guys have to sit. It's no fun, but it's also an amazing thing to be out there and be supportive, to be out there and know you're part of a team, know you're doing your work, supporting the guys. But to be part of this year's President's Cup in Australia, where we got in a big hole, a big deficit early, and not sure if it was due to some jet lag, not sure if it was due to Ernie Els doing some extra work with his pairings, but we got in a big hole, and then to be able to come back, make a great run in the Sunday singles, and come back with a cup. And for me, I was playing in the second to last group. Ricky Fowler had the last group. I was second to last, and we had a good feeling it was probably going to come down to one of us. And I got in a big hole early. I think I was maybe 3 down through 3 holes. I got down big early and was able to battle back and finally turn the tide. I birdied 15 and 16, I think, to get 1 up. And I knew if I had I birdied 14, 15 to go 1 up. 16 was a really tough hole. I ended up 3-putting. And then 17, so I think I stayed just 1 up. No, I think we went back to even, go to 17. And if I make birdie to go 1 up, I know we have our match, and I know that's enough point to win the cup. So when I made birdie on 17, I knew that was the cup clinching point. And it was one of the more nerve-wracking putts I've had. I mean, it's only 6 feet. But still, it's a missable putt with the cup on the line. I was so glad to make that. When I did make it, the happiness that was busting out of me. I think the joy was just busting out of me when I saw all my other teammates were around that green, and I went off skipping through all the players, high-fiving every one of them, knowing that we had just won the President's Cup and battled back from a big deficit. One of my happier, more fun moments in the game of golf.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That was so exciting.
Great story.
All right. So share a little bit about your family, if you would.
Matt?
Yeah, so I married a tennis player, Sibby Parker Kuchar. Played tennis at Georgia Tech. I remember first seeing her in the weight room and knowing I definitely wanted to get to know her better. We were very friendly in school, didn't actually date in college at all till afterwards. Once we started dating, we were married within a year, and then kids came 4 years later. My oldest boy, Cameron, he is now 12. Youngest boy, Carson, is 10. Cameron, the oldest, is my golf lover. Carson's the tennis lover, but we are encouraging any and every sport to be played, and they're doing great. They've been kind of around the world with us. We've decided to do a bit of a homeschool program where we've had teachers that travel with us. We've decided to kind of keep the family as close together as possible. If the kids did kind of traditional school, I wanted to see a lot of them with my schedule. So we've homeschooled. We've had a teacher travel with us. They've been nearly to all continents. I think they're missing Antarctica. Every other continent they have hit. We came close a couple Christmases ago. We did Patagonia down in South America, and at times it felt like we were on Antarctica. But they're good, sporty kids, doing well in school, and certainly we've been having a good time. This whole lockdown thing has been tough on everybody. I think it's been tough on the kids not being able to get together with friends, but thankfully they're good friends, the two of them, and they've been able to kind of keep each other busy. And we've been lucky where we are. Golf and tennis has remained open, so we've had a little sense of normalcy with being able to play some golf and tennis. So we feel awfully lucky to have two good kids and to be kind of coping through this hard time with best possible way.
That's awesome. All right, so here's another memory for you. If you let's watch it, and then this was in at Augusta National a few years ago. Here we go.
There aren't many better places to have a hole-in-one than Sunday afternoon, 16 Augusta National, playing late on Sunday, and it was just so exciting. So I had a couple years prior been in the thick of things Sunday. I eagled 15, the par 5. Then I hit a really poor shot here and made bogey, which was disappointing, kind of took me out of the tournament. And this 7-iron, I went ahead and tried to be as aggressive as possible, knowing I didn't want the same shot out to the right to cost me. I just hit an amazing shot, and it's sheer luck for it to take the perfect line down the hill and go in, but it was right where I wanted to hit it, and so nice to kind of redeem myself, and thought I could stand a chance if I maybe birdie 17 and 18 to maybe force a playoff. I was not able to do that, but making a hole-in-one 16 late Sunday afternoon at the Masters tournament is just such an amazing feeling.
That's awesome.
Matt, we've been to so many Masters. I don't think I've ever heard a louder roar than when that ball went in the cup on 16. That was just so special. And then you went out and gave the ball to a young boy in the gallery.
Yeah, it's one of the cool bits of what I do for a living is sorry, I missed that.
So I had a fun story about that hole-in-one. His grandfather was the original Kuch, and he had passed away a couple years prior, and it was the first Masters that my daughter had been to since her grandfather died. She had never been to one without Big Kuch being there. So she had asked for him to give her a sign that he was doing well sometime during the tournament. And she had waited and waited throughout all the time and saw somebody that looked kind of like him on the hole prior and said, maybe that's my sign. And then her brother puts it in the hole. And I said, all of heaven and earth yelled, Kuch! And we decided that was her sign. So
that was it.
That was kind of on that hole-in-one.
That's awesome.
And this is Greg and Mary, who both live
the evolution of Kuch. Yeah.
His beautiful bride. So that's at Catherine's wedding, which just happened in Austin. She might like to say a little something.
There's Miss Catherine.
Catherine, you with us?
You might be muted.
I'm here. I'm here. Just super excited, happily married, and had a great time. We missed Matt and Sibby and the boys, but it was just so fun getting together. And we just, I don't know, we love it.
It's awesome. Good to have somebody that you locked down with.
Yes, indeed. That's for sure.
Catherine, this is Maureen. Your mom, Mary, was one of my suite mates. We lived in Emily Hall, and she was rooming with Lynn Banks. Please tell her I said hello.
Oh, how fun. I've heard of Lynn. I feel like I met Lynn. How fun. Thank you for telling me that.
Absolutely.
Right. So Miss Margaret, you still with us?
Yeah, I am. I wanted to hear the evolution of Cooch because you've told me the story. And when did everybody start saying Cooch? And that get started with you, Mr. Peter? Kind of maybe that.
It started with my dad. It started with my dad, and then I became Cooch, and then Matt, and I guarantee that Matt's kids will ultimately turn into Cooch. But there is a unwritten rule on the PGA Tour that the drunker you get, the louder times you have to say
it. Somebody thought people were saying boo. And I said, no, that's Cooch. That's a long Cooch. Cooch.
So Margaret, you were his guidance counselor at Seminole High School?
25 years ago. Well, Matt, I don't know if you remember this or not, but 2 days after graduation, you were sitting in my office. And it was my first year there, but it was your senior year, and you were part of my alphabet. And Jeremy Anderson was sitting there, and I wonder, having started at age 12, I think I heard you say, and almost 18 by then, because I know your birthday's in June. Did you have any aspirations at that time to do something with golf? And of course, then within not more than 1 year later, you won the U.S. Amateur at the age of 19, which is a phenomenal achievement for 7 years playing golf. And how did that work? Because people were, you got in the Open and had such a great tournament and the Masters, and they were saying, need to turn pro. And what was your thinking and so on finishing school? And I know your parents had a part in that. Because I remember when you came back, I asked you, are you staying in school? You said, for now. I think those are the words that you gave me that 2 years later. And I thought, he's going to make the right decision. But can you tell us what your thinking was from being in high school and all of a sudden realizing how good you were and how you went along and then eventually joined the pro tour? Can you tell us that, Matt?
Sure.
A little bit about how your thinking
absolutely.
went through the years, and Peter and Meg also.
So I think a lot of people think, well, maybe a little bit late to start up to become a professional. It certainly worked out well for me. I've got a lot of other friends that kind of got to golf a bit late. They were sporty, playing other sports, and took to golf a little later than the Tiger Woods model, starting at 2 years old or 1 year old. But when I took to it, it's the only thing I dreamed of. I mentioned earlier as a young child, I wanted to be Boris Becker, and I never thought it'd be anything else but chasing Boris Becker. And then at some point, basketball was my love, and I wanted to be Magic Johnson, and that's all I ever thought I would be. And when golf came along, I got hooked by it. I got bitten by the bug, and I was sure that I was going to be out there playing alongside Phil Mickelson. So had a nice high school run, nice kind of junior. I was not great, but I was good. Had a really good friend. You mentioned Jeremy Anderson. in high school. And I think the two of us really pushed each other. I think there are a couple things that kind of went my way. Having a buddy like that to push me to get better. We were members of Heathrow Country Club. Heathrow was one of the first golf clubs that had unlimited range balls. I think most clubs I went to that time, you used to have to pay $5 for a bucket of balls. And I think if I had to do that, I would not have spent the time on the range that the unlimited balls allowed me to spend. Then there were a handful of pros that played out of Heathrow, Chris Markle being one of them. And as I got kind of old enough and good enough, Chris would let me tag along in his games, and he would have a money game nearly every day he was home, and he'd let me join in for $5 or $2 or something like that. And I think all those things really helped me to get better. And I was able to sign a scholarship to go to Georgia Tech. Had a great coach there, great group of teammates. Small world story. One of the perks at Georgia Tech is getting to play Augusta National once a year. We've got a bunch of alumni, and at the time we were within the, I want to say, 200-mile limit to be able to go take a trip like that. So that was a huge bonus. And as a freshman, I remember going and playing Augusta National, being nervous as can be, but having an amazing time with my teammates. And at one point, we're done with a round. We're kind of exploring the clubhouse, and we stumble upon the Crow's Nest. The Crow's Nest is where amateurs stay when they qualify for the Masters. And we kind of sat down for a minute, a bunch of teammates, and said, wouldn't it be amazing to play, to actually stay here, to play in the Masters? And it was later on that summer that I won the U.S. Amateur, and I had 3 or 4 of my teammates calling me up and not so much happy for me. They were cussing me out, going, I can't believe it's you. That fun jealousy play that I can't believe, everybody dreamed it would be them, and I was able to live out the dream, and what a special week that was. I remember so much about it, but being paired with Tiger Woods the first round, I remember walking to the first tee and being just incredibly nervous. I remember the announcer announcing Tiger Woods to big applause, and then they announced me, and I'm assuming that nobody even knows who I am. But I think knowing I was a kid from just down the road in Atlanta at Georgia Tech, they were very excited for me. Had an amazing day. Had Dad, of course, chatting for me, and so the memories we have of so many things from U.S. Amateur playing in Masters, it does get a whole lot more special than that. Certainly was awfully disappointed not to be there in April, but excited to go back again in November. Fingers crossed that works out to play in November. But you're right, I had great success that Masters. Also went to the U.S. Open in San Francisco at Olympic Club, even better success at Olympic Club. And it was then, I think a lot of the golfing world thought I should take advantage of the great success I've had, the opportunities for sponsors, for endorsements. And it was quite a lure. So I won the U.S. Amateur the summer after my freshman year. It was during my sophomore year I played in the Masters. Sophomore summer played in the U.S. Open, and had quite a difficult conversation, quite a difficult decision to make after my sophomore year at Georgia Tech. And the one person that really made the biggest difference in changing my decision was a practice round of the British Open, Payne Stewart. And Payne Stewart urged me to stay in school. Just about everybody else said, you seem ready, strike while the iron's hot. Payne Stewart said, the PGA Tour is going to be there for the rest of your life. You only have 4 years to be a college kid. Do not turn pro, and 10 years down the road, wish you had those 2 years back to be a college kid again. And that sunk in, that meant something to me. I had such a good 2 years at Georgia Tech that I was looking forward to 2 more years, and enjoyed every minute of it. Well, there are probably a few minutes that I probably didn't enjoy so much, but it was a great experience for me, and turns out the right decision for sure. I was sure it was the right decision, and it's nice that it's played out in such a way that I didn't miss anything, and I think I've got to enjoy college life to its fullest, and now enjoying life on the PGA Tour to its fullest as well.
Right. All right, so Meg, Peter, Matt, who are all these folks?
Go ahead, Meg.
That is our whole clan, Matt and his wife and 2 boys, then Peter and me. The tall one is Trip Morris, our oldest grandson. And then Ellie is the girl in the front, her brother Patrick, father Patrick, and my daughter Rebecca in the middle of all of her crew. Trip, we brought him his very first college recruiting or visit was to Stetson University, and we had him excited and had him talk to the golf coach, but somewhere between thinking that that's what he was going to do, his senior year kind of worked out that he walked away from his sports a little bit and decided that he wanted to go to a big school with a big football program. So he is off to Auburn in the fall, but one of his high school teammates is on this call because he is an incoming freshman going to play on the team for Stetson. So, and this is at Matt's beautiful lake house, which is where he's sitting right now in South Carolina on Lake Kiowee. So we had a family reunion over a Thanksgiving, and that was our family picture.
So just to tell you a little bit about this Matt's place in Lake Kiowee, he has got a barn adjacent to the house. And in the barn is a batting cage, a rock climbing wall, full court basketball, pickleball, ping pong, anything you want to play and compete in, you can do it in this barn. It is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
And then they've got all the water toys for the pretty days and tennis and golf right there too. So it's a pretty happy place to be locked down.
Right. So I know, Matt, you've covered some of those questions. George, I believe, had a question about a memory New Year's Eve down in the Florida Keys. Watching a football game?
Yeah, Matt, I don't know if you remember that, but this is George Mitchison. And one New Year's, we were down in the Florida Keys. You, Becky, Peter and Meg, Nelson Clemens, Mark O'Brien, and we had a great time down there. And I've got a trivia question here for you. Do you remember what 2 teams played in the National Football Championship that week?
Oh, you remember what year that was, GA?
I believe it was 87.
87. My memory serves me right being down there. What would that have put me as a 9-year-old? I know University of Miami was in it.
Yep.
Was would that have been Penn State, Miami?
Yep, Miami, Penn State. And that was the camouflage bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, when Miami came out there in camos. And ended up that Penn State beat Miami 14-7. we had a great time down there. It was
that didn't go very well.
Yep.
I do remember. I remember jet skiing. I remember thinking it was pretty amazing.
Yep, Miami got
I think there were some little speedboats.
Hey, so
Fun memory.
I just heard Molly has gotten on. My cousin Molly has joined the call. It's one of Greg's daughters. So I don't know if we can tap into her for a minute, but I think Greg's youngest girl is on now.
If you do your screen to the side, you can see us. We get 9 at a time. There's Catherine. There's Molly down in the corner.
There's Molly.
Hey, Molly.
Can you see me?
Molly.
Hi, how are you?
We can see you. Matt's trying to.
I'm really enjoying it. Hi, Matt.
So,
Yeah.
Brother Bill Armour is on this call. And when Matt was at Georgia Tech, we would host the team every Martin Luther King weekend. And we would play all the top golf courses in the Central Florida area. For 1 year, we went out and played Hammock Dunes with the team. And that was right after Matt had the big coming out party at the Masters. And I asked Bill to be our fourth. We played with Bryce Mulder and Matt and Bill and I. And Bill, how many thousands of people watched us play that day?
Well, I expected maybe 2 or 3 people would show up, but I found out Matt was coming. I think we had at least 2,000. I may be exaggerating a little bit.
You and I both.
That was so much fun. Matt would bring his team down from Georgia to spend Martin Luther King weekend at our house. And so I would talk to Costco to feed 8 or 10 guys and put people sleeping every which way. And then Peter would set them up on various different golf courses all around the area. And when they're at our place, they just play ping pong and shoot hoops. And it was some of the most fun memories. We had a ball. It was great.
All those people. I get asked all the time about playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people and how I keep my. And there's a few pictures that came up earlier that shot at 16 at the round, and then we've got a few shots from the amateur days of playing the Olympic Club and having just that full side on 18, where it's maybe hundreds of thousands up the hillside. So to me, it's funny when you play in front of large numbers. So if I play and the gallery's small, let's call it 5 to 10 people, you can see each individual person. You can see each person out there, and if they're going to move, if they happen to do something, you're kind of aware because they're easy to see. But when you play in front of thousands of people, it just becomes this frame, and people could jump up and down. You don't really know it because they just wash out. So I've always found it easier the more people that are around, the noise kind of muffles out, drowns out a bit. It just becomes a bit of a white noise. You know, if there's 10 people and somebody coughs, I know in the pro-am play-in, the amateurs that play along with us get awfully nervous when there's more than 3 people watching. And I think most pros find it easier to have really big gallery because it turns into a bit of a white noise.
So Matt, I'm sure you've read that the NCAA is going to collegiate athletes to get compensated now. What's your take on that?
I probably don't know enough. I think from the old school, just at the moment, I understand the name and likeness thing where schools may look to take advantage of players, but I also think when you're a high school kid, I think you know exactly what you're getting when you sign that letter of intent. I think you know the 4-year scholarship before, and you don't really know if you truly going to be a huge success or if you're going to be a bust. The guys that are recruits assume they're going to be a huge success, but nobody really knows. I think everybody's taking a little bit of a risk. It seems to be a trick. I probably do a little more homework and understand a little bit better how name and likeness thing works for college kids. But I think I come a bit from the old school, knowing that, listen, the school's taking a risk on you. If you are successful, great for the school, great for you too.
Other questions? Matt, someone asked, how do you keep such a positive attitude out on the course?
I think that started with my mother. I remember as a young kid playing golf, 13, 14, temper. I remember throwing clubs. I remember getting in trouble, and Mom was the enforcer of making me behave myself well. And the biggest punishment for me was to take my golf clubs away. If they were away for a day, if they were away for a week, those were huge punishments to me. And I figured out quickly, I needed to behave differently. I know Catherine and Molly are on the line, and their father, my uncle Greg, we'd play golf quite a bit together, and he always had a fun humor. And I remember he hit a bad shot, he'd say something silly as opposed to saying. So I kind of took after that a bit as well. I remember I wasn't when I said, golly gee, son of a gun or anything like that. That would not get me in trouble. I've started saying more things like that as opposed to the curse words, and it's helped me out. But then had a college golf coach that was out of probably a similar cut to my mother. Bruce Hepler was. He knew that the one thing you could control was your attitude. You can't control kind of sometimes where the ball bounces and the breaks you get on the golf course, but you could always control your attitude. And he just preached that over and over again, that a positive attitude was the one thing you really could control, and how important that was to playing good golf. So from my mother to my college golf coach, those were helpful things. And I'm sure there's a bit genetically as well. It's I would think tough to change. You take some of the guys on the tour that are a bit hotheads. It'd be hard to change. Even a Tiger Woods, who we've all seen him lose his cool on the golf course. I'm not sure you completely change him to be a golly geez type of guy. Everybody's different. I think my attitude has served me well, and particularly for the long run. Golf's a 72-hole tournament for year after year after year. To be successful in the long run, I think you got to find the positive in things and find the good. I think when you do hit those bad shots and you do end up in the woods, instead of being so upset at yourself, I'm going to go hit an amazing recovery shot. And I think look forward to trying to do something great from a place that you may not want to be.
You've made your mother proud. So I really think that even some of those people that are hotheads out there, that their parents and coaches just said they've got potential and that's how they're wired, and we're going to make an excuse for that and we're going to let it slide. And I feel that being a gentleman is so important, and particularly with, as far as Matt has managed to take his game, he has all of these people who look up to him and want to emulate him. And part of the reason for that is not only his golf prowess, but his attitude. That's what the most people tell me that make them want to be like him, is because of that positive attitude. And I think it's just a wonderful and a very important thing.
questions?
Well,
That was beautifully said.
yeah.
I want to remind Matt that it's a practice facility, and it will have unlimited balls for you and for any family that wants to come down and enjoy the game of golf at Stetson. You guys have meant so much to all that to the history of Stetson, and it's been what a treat to.
Thank you. That's
Thank
an
you.
awfully nice
Thank you.
offer, and I hope to be back.
All right. Well, Matt.
Are we done?
Yes.
It was good to see everybody.
Good to see y'all.
I think your Uncle Greg tuned in.
Let's see. Is Uncle Greg here?
Is Uncle Greg on the line?
If he is, we would love to say
I saw he was.
hello. Well, I just want to say one thing. I just remember, being at Stetson with Greg and Mary and you guys, that Greg would speak so much about Matt's grandfather. And I heard so much about the Kuchars and about their, ping pong matches and tennis matches and horseshoes and the whole competitive spirit. And I loved it so much because my family was like that. So I would always say to Greg, I think we could be related. I mean, my family's like that too, but it was sort of a little unusual. And I know we played a lot of ping pong with Greg and Mary, and he just always spoke so highly of Matt's grandfather. And I just, it was just very, very lovely.
Thank you.
They all love their grandpa a lot.
He is missed.
He's a very special guy. Well, it was really fun to see everybody.
Matt, thanks a million for doing this. It's been a real pleasure.
That was good to connect. I appreciate Woody for including me, and good to connect with some of these old faces that I grew up with, tagging along with mom and dad back in the day.
Well, Matt, thank you very much. We sure are proud of you.
Go Hatters.
Thanks, Woody.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
Go Hatters.
All right. Thank you all very much. Stay safe out there.
Buddy.
Hi. Thank you.
Woody, great job.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. Hey, Friday night, we've got another concert, so tune in.
Hey, Woody.
Yeah. Who's still with us? Ashley, Matt. We can still talk, y'all.
Yeah, that's Woody. Parent and alumni relations division. That's Matt Kuchar, the PGA champion.
Hey, Ashley, where do you live?
Medalist. And then,
just to say, come on, go play. You're welcome. His wife
he does all the recruiting. And
your wife wants to give you a big kiss, Matt. Come on.
I doubt it.
Go take it. Take it.
I don't know the people. There's Meg.
Look. Hi.
Thank you a lot, Woody. It was a great meeting, these folks in the middle of the state.
So, well, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. Putting this together. So we need to do more things like this for sure. Thank you all for joining us. Time for supper.
Oh, yeah, it was great. Thanks.
Thanks again, Meg, Peter, and Matt.